Phyllis Schlafly has been a national leader of the conservative movement since the publication of her best-selling 1964 book, A Choice, Not an Echo. She has been a leader of the pro-family movement since 1972, when she started her national volunteer organization, now called the Eagle Forum. She was named one of the 100 most important women of the 20th century by the Ladies' Home Journal. Her monthly newsletter, the Phyllis Schlafly Report, is now in its 41st year. Her syndicated column appears in 100 newspapers, her radio commentaries are heard daily on 460 stations, and her radio talk show on education called Eagle Forum Live is heard weekly on 45 stations. She served as a member of the Commission on the Bicentennial of the U.S. Constitution, 1985 to 1991, appointed by President Reagan. She has testified before more than 50 congressional and state legislative committees on constitutional, national defense, and family issues. It's my pleasure and distinct honor to welcome to the Global Freedom Report, Phyllis Schlafly.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm so happy to join you.
Oh, and I'm so happy to have you here. It's such a pleasure. Actually, I've been following you, and we've actually interacted. I believe you were on my show, The Voice of Freedom, several years ago. I've been following you since I got involved in helping to expose truth some 20 years ago, and you've been around for decades. I mean, you've been around for so long.
Yeah, a little longer than that. That's right.
Well, That brings me to my first question, because you've seen so much of our society change, social attitudes, morals, and how our government relates to us and vice versa. How would you characterize those changes that you've seen over the past 40, 50 years?
Well, a lot of them are not good. When I grew up, we lived in a land where the average blue-collar worker could have a good job that paid enough that he could buy a car, buy a house, have a full-time homemaker in the home, families were intact, and now we find that 40% of our babies are born illegitimately. They don't have any fathers in the home, and I think that's maybe the biggest social disaster in our country today.
You served in President Reagan's government. Did you ever have occasion to meet him?
Oh, well, sure, I met him. He was a wonderful guy. I really didn't serve in the government, but what he did was to appoint me to the Commission on the Bicentennial of the Constitution. That was a volunteer commission appointment, and it was a lot of fun. The former Chief Justice Warren Burger was our chairman, and we managed the celebrations for the 200th anniversary of the Constitution.
Well, my question...
I did meet Reagan a number of times. Just like you saw him on television, he just was a really great guy.
Well, my question is, how do you compare more recent presidents with Mr. Reagan?
Well, everybody fails by comparison. He just was great, and he believed in our country. He believed in the exceptionalism of America, and that anybody could achieve whatever they wanted to in the land of freedom that we have here. And it's just a great tragedy to think that we're on the road to European-style socialism under President Obama. He apparently doesn't believe that there's something unique and great about America. He thinks we're just one in the list of 150 nations in the UN, and he'd like to be a citizen of the world.
There are a couple of quotes I'd like to read first before my next question. From Lenin, "Give me your 4-year-olds, and in a generation I will build a socialist state." And from G. Brock Chisholm, co-founder of the World Federation of Mental Health, "To achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogmas." The communists appear to have had it correct. The American family unit, once the backbone of our society, appears to have completely fallen apart, or has it? What has family come to mean in modern American society, and how are changes in attitudes towards family reflective of the current state of affairs in our country?
Well, I think that's a very important statement that you read, and of course the people who don't like our country want to break up the family. Because the family is a bulwark against dictatorship, against socialist control. And it is most unfortunate that a lot of young people are not getting married. We have attacks on the marriage institution by a lot of different groups. I've been fighting the feminists for many years, and they are very anti-marriage. They want women to be independent of men. They want to get all the women in the workforce and get the men out of the home. And they get kids in daycare, so they don't have to be responsible for raising them. And there are just a lot of enemies of the institution of marriage and the family, and it's extremely unfortunate.
Well, and I think it has a ripple effect that many people don't even recognize because they become so numbed out to it. But I get stories all the time. I just got a story where some state officials just literally kidnapped a newborn from a hospital in New Hampshire because the father they found was associated with the group Oath Keepers. And what strikes me is there was a time in our history if someone, even someone from the government, tried to take a child from a family, they wouldn't get away with it. I mean, you know, the parents, the siblings, they'd all gather around and say, you will not do this. I mean, there was a time where you'd be met at the gate to your property. They'd be met with a shotgun. Get off my property. But today, it seems like all you have to do is waive a legal writ or have a policeman there, and it seems like people don't value the idea of family anymore. There are other things more important. We got to go traveling. We got to go, have that lifestyle that we're told we're entitled to. And so what can we do to restore a high regard for the family unit to the American people?
Well, you have to realize that there are groups and propaganda and media who've been working against the family, and they do some of it by slogans and by language. One of the slogans is the village should raise the child. Now, village is a euphemism for government, and they want to tell you that the government is better able to make these decisions. So you have decisions made by the schools, by counselors, by family court, by child protective services, and they think they can decide what is the best interest of the child. And that is an expression that for centuries meant the parent decided what was in the best interest of the child, but now they want some government functionary or social science expert to do that instead. And I think we need to reject it on every front. So that's one of the things we work on in Eagle Forum. I would ask your listeners to go to my website, eagleforum.org. They can look under topics, and they can look for fathers and family and feminism, and they can read a lot of important information on this topic that is not normally in the mainstream press.
What kind of messages, what kind of techniques do you use or do you recommend? Because honest to God, I am at my wit's end on this. How do you get, to me it's obvious. To me and to you it's obvious that the family unit, without it, everything else falls apart. So and I don't mean to belabor this, but it is such an important point. I'm really at my wit's end, and I'm kind of a smart guy. What do you do to even start the process of changing the way people are looking at the family?
Well, I don't know that it's people. It's certain pressure groups that are promoting their own goal. And the older I get, the more I think follow the money explains a great deal. We have all kinds of built-in financial incentives that the government is using really to break up the family, to oppose marriage, and to promote illegitimacy. And most of the social ills of our time come out of these fatherless homes. The father is absolutely essential to be a role model and disciplinarian and a guide for his children, both boys and girls. And there are just all kinds of ways they've removed it. And one of the ways is by channeling the money just to the woman. So that makes the husband and father irrelevant. And that is mostly unfortunate.
And that really is. And
fathers are needed.
And please understand, I have the greatest respect for women. I am by no definition of the term any kind of a sexist. I believe women are as capable as men in just about everything, and more so in many things. But I also believe that there are certain gender roles, if you will, that have proven to create a healthy, happy, free society. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything
Well, you are right, but that's contrary to what is taught in all these women's studies classes in the universities. They're teaching them that gender is a social construct. It's not something innate. And that's extremely unfortunate because God did make us different, men and women, and they have a different function, and
oh, absolutely. I remember an old Burger King commercial about 20 years ago, and it showed it was a Russian theater of some kind, and there was a walkway, and it showed a very fat, very unattractive woman in a gray sack walking out while a voiceover spoke as if it was a model. You know, here's Olga, whatever. And she'd walk out like she was a model, and she'd go away, and they'd announce another person, and the exact same person would come out and walk back and forth. They did this 3 or 4 times, and then they said, Burger King. At Burger King, you can have it your way. And that was the whole idea there, that, the individual versus the social. It seems like the American people have gotten very much into that old paradigm of the Russians, to have everything be the same. We want everyone to be the same because it's fair. I think it's really unfortunate. Let me switch gears with you for a moment. You're an attorney, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've testified before numerous legislative committees concerning constitutional issues. Would you comment on the apparent and total disregard by government of the Constitution by government officials today?